Everyone, thanks so much for joining today's Let's Go Zero webinar on building a sustainable world, embedding sustainability into the primary curriculum. So we've got some brilliant speakers for you today. Amelia from Oasis Community Learning and Kinvara from World's Largest Lesson. And so can everyone hear me okay? I've just had a message saying they can't. Oh. Maybe your sound starts working soon. And so they've got a couple of these are brilliant presenters for you, all about embedding primary, sustainability into the primary curriculum and some top tips and advice for you. So I hope you find it really useful. But just before we start, I just wanted to give you a quick introduction to the Let's Go Zero campaign and what we're all about. So Let's Go Zero is for all schools across the UK to sign up to declare their intent and ambition to get to zero carbon and to call on the government for support and funding in order to do this. So at the moment, we have just coming up to 3,000 schools, colleges and nurseries across the UK who have signed up to show this ambition, which is really brilliant. And the brilliant thing is that we're now working very closely with the Department for Education, sort of guiding them and supporting them in how to move faster and be more ambitious in the support that they give schools across the UK. So Let's Go Zero, we're actually a coalition of organisations. So I work for Ashton, who lead the Let's Go Zero campaign, but we're actually backed by 16 other sustainability organisations who all work in this sphere, supporting schools on their climate action journey. And together we support schools through signposting and guidance, competitions, webinars like this one, and loads of free resources, as well as our climate action advisors, which is a new programme of work rolled out across England. Now, through our coalition and our collaborative working this summer, just to quickly let you know about an event that we've been organising called the Climate Action Countdown. Now, the Climate Action Countdown is a celebration of what schools are already doing for climate action. It's about raising awareness and supporting schools to take the next steps on their climate action journey. And all these organisations have come together to support schools in a month-long challenge, asking schools and their communities to do one action for sustainability a day between the 7th of June and the 5th of July. And we want everybody involved. So it includes our coalition members, but also many, many more organisations who have all sort of come together. And so the calendar of actions we've created them to be small, achievable things. So it could be things like, where's your bin? Label your bins, make sure you know where your recycling is, or make sure you know which bin is for your landfill. Or it could be a bit more ambitious, so have a pop-up swap shop where students bring in a book and swap their favourite book with another student, or have a active travel day where you encourage everybody to walk, cycle, scoot into school. So this is our lovely calendar, and it's now available on our website, so please do go on and have a look. And we want it to be like a pick and mix of options. If you like one action idea, but you want to do it on a different day, that's absolutely fine. And the idea is that all these actions all add up to make a big difference at the end. And there are prizes for grabs, so weekly prizes as part of our actions. So to post on social media to be entered into the prize draw. And there's a lot more to come. So we've developed a primary school and secondary school assembly and a primary school and a secondary school activity pack to guide teachers and school staff through these actions. And these actions could be taken on by one student, one parent, or a whole class or year group, or an eco club. So it really is just trying to include everybody in the school community. So before I introduce our first speaker, I just wanted to spotlight our different webinars that are coming up later on this year in May and June. We've got speakers from National Education Nature Park, all about what they're up to, South Against Sewage, and then one on green job skills and careers in June. So if you find this one useful, I hope you will attend the others as well. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce our first speaker, Amelia, who's the Principal and Geography Lead at Oasis Community Learning. So if I stop sharing, Amelia, and you should be able to share.
Hello, everyone. I will just start sharing now.
Brilliant.
Can you see that, Suzanne?
Yeah, perfect.
Excellent, it worked. Okay, so as Suzanne said, my name is Amelia Nelson and I'm the head teacher of a primary school in Bristol, and I work for Oasis Community Learning, and I'm also a national curriculum lead for geography in our thematic team. I'll explain a bit more about across the Oasis Trust as well. So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about how we got sustainability into our primary school curriculum, sort of the what, the why, and the how, as it were. So what are we doing to get sustainability into the primary curriculum? Well, basically, we have dedicated a whole half term to focusing solely on sustainability, primarily through the thematic subjects. So in Oasis, we call those art, DT, music, history and geography. We sort of group those subjects together, and for a whole term, we do term 4. All of those subjects are focused on sustainability. And we do that through using the medium of the world's largest lesson to help us, and the global goals as well. So that's what we're doing. We do pull in some things from English in our reading as well, and make sure some of our reading texts are linked to the sustainability as well. But the main driver for the curriculum is through those subjects for one whole half term. So obviously we're all sort of on this meeting together today because we want to get sustainability into primary schools, and we're looking at it. So when I go into the why now, don't think I'm teaching you to suck eggs.
Oh dear, I think we lost Amelia. Sorry, everybody, we might give her a minute to rejoin, and hopefully she will without difficulties. Otherwise, we might skip and go to Kinvara and then go back to Amelia.
Okay, all good.
Here we go. Hi, Amelia.
I'm so sorry, everyone. I don't know why it kicked me out then. Embargoed information coming up. Let me start again with presenting. So I don't know where I lost you there, but just going on to the why, I don't want anyone to think like, well, we all know why we need to do it. But basically, like, why did us as Oasis decide that it was so important to include sustainability in the main part of our curriculum, basically? So part of Oasis Community Learning, we follow something called the 3 C's. So all of our learning, education and time that children are with us is based around the 3 C's. So that's character, competence and community. So obviously I know each of us within our own schools, whether you're with an academy trust or just a small school, are going to have those own main drivers. But those are really important to everything that we do at school. And a couple of the markers for that are things like our children live in a world where they require the skills and qualifications, flexibility, emotional intelligence and expertise to be leaders and thrive as human beings. Our children live in a world where they need to feel a sense of ability to change things for the better and have self-efficiency. We want our children and young people to be inspired to improve the world around them, have the ambition, skills and expertise to thrive in a fast changing world, interconnected and communication with other people. and also to have values to approach life in a sense of what's right and what's wrong. So that being part of our core values, when we were writing the curriculum, we didn't really feel that we could ignore the big issue around sustainability, climate change, and helping this current generation to improve the world around them. And obviously each subject branches off into different things. And me being the geography lead as well, one of our core messages for geography for our disadvantaged pupils, because we primarily take from disadvantaged areas, is to look out the window, to open the children's eyes to the world around them. And again, we just felt that we couldn't ignore sustainability. So we felt we were staying true to our core values by including and making quite a big commitment to the time we spend on sustainability in our curriculum. So it aligned with our core values, was one of the main reasons why we made the time commitment to sustainability. It's also a really important focus this year and beyond for the Trust. So we're trying to really look across all areas of the school on how we're sustainable, the curriculum, the way we use facilities, and other ways that we interact. It's a big Trust priority for this year that we are better in all areas with sustainability, not just in our consumption, but also in how we're bringing the next generation to understand that, basically. And then alongside that, though, as well, as I've said, we are a primary school, we are an academy. So some of you who are not academies may be thinking, well, you've got more flexibility as an academy. Yes, totally. However, Oasis follows the national curriculum to the letter. So we actually have decided to follow the national curriculum. But when we looked really closely at the national curriculum for geography, we felt across Key Stage 1, Lower Key Stage 2 and Upper Key Stage 2 that actually the environment was being mentioned within the geography curriculum, whether it be looking at land use over time and how different areas have changed over time. We took that to be a key driver for sustainability and how sustainability is changing the world around us. So we've managed to weave it into the national curriculum as to how and why we are spending this curriculum time for the children in our primary schools, basically. We also felt as well, like, excuse the pun, but given the current climate of how the world is changing and everything in the media around sustainability, wanting to be a multi-academy trust that's at the cutting edge of education and keeping up to date with world affairs, we really did feel that we couldn't write a curriculum that didn't include sustainability. We really feel that if any education reform is going to come, it's going to include sustainability. So we wanted to get ahead of the curve and make sure that that was already written into our curriculum. So I do feel lucky within that I was given the flexibility as the thematic lead to write that into our primary schools curriculum. So I do understand there's an element of flexibility and being given the platform for that, because it really aligns with our academy's core values. But hopefully you'll see that we've really been able to reap the rewards in what we've been able to do and how much the children have enjoyed it and learned from it. So that's the why that we chose to do that. Right, so you're probably thinking, well, how then? How on earth do you manage to give up a whole half term's worth of learning across all of those subjects and still make sure that you're meeting the national curriculum objectives for geography, history, art, music as well? That's quite a tall order for a half term without losing something elsewhere. As I said before, though, as Oasis, we really do follow the national curriculum. So it wasn't an option to be dropping any subjects or any objectives from any other curriculum areas. But we also do know, in terms of how children learn, the forgetting curve and different things like that, if we wanted to have impact, we did want to interweave all of the sustainability learning across the different subjects. So taking those subjects separately and using the key driver of the Sustainable Development Goals, and with a lot of help from the world's largest lesson resources along the way, we decided to allocate one global goal to each of the year groups from years 1 to year 6. That did sort of mean we did have to pick some global goals that fitted most easily with what we wanted to do. So there are some that are left behind, and we're working with our secondary schools to see that it's more suited for them to pick up the goals that we haven't looked at. But we did feel it was better to focus on some really well and whet the children's appetite for it than looking at all 17 at once. So as you can see from the screen, hopefully, each year group focuses on one global goal for the whole entire year, and that remains the same. So we're the 3rd year into doing this now. So it remains the same each year, and the children move up to the next year group and are really excited about their new global goal and things like that. So we started off with some staff training on exactly what the sustainability goals were. We did know this is a big barrier. If I'm truly honest, it was a barrier to me before I started looking into it. When I stumbled across all the sustainable development goals and all the resources for the world's largest lesson, I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe people might not know about this. We've got to do something about it now. And I think that the way that the world's largest lesson resources are written and some of their animations and their videos that go with it really are a burning platform and empowering for the children. So we used some of the world's largest lesson to train all staff across the trust. So we dedicated some CPD for that, but also some other staff training on exactly what sustainability looks like in the primary curriculum. So we trained staff so they could get on board with this big commitment, because we knew it was going to be slightly different in how they were teaching. We shared with them which global goal they were going to be covering, and then we really clearly mapped out exactly how we wanted the term to go. So each lesson was taught in a particular order based on each subject, because children needed to learn some things before they could learn the next thing. We used the world's largest lesson resources to explain what the global goals were, particularly for Key Stage 1. These were slightly abstract. So using the world's largest lesson targeted resources for Key Stage 1 pupils and primary pupils, we were able to explain to the children, and they were able to get involved in what was going on. Everybody starts with the world's largest lesson all together on the same day, and then we finish up, we all come into the hall, and it's led by the leadership team. We share with everyone what we've learned. We bring the post-it notes just like we're in the video, and we say, oh my goodness, we're all working towards this and we've got to do it. So we sort of hold each other to account, and we all get together and we're like, this is it, this is the term's learning, and the children get really pumped about what's going on there. They then go on into the term and they have a lesson on their global goal, and they really get to grips with what on earth it is, because it is quite abstract and they need to start learning it, particularly lower down the school. Once they've done it a few times, they totally get it and they're ready for the next. You can then see the geography lessons interlinked with what was being learned. So if year 3 learn about global goal, life underwater, so we linked the geography in there to be learning about coasts as well. So again, we're picking up different parts of the national curriculum as well as the environmental work as well. We used history lessons then to look at significant events or significant people or things that linked in with their global goal and their geography. There was timelining of Greta Thunberg, timelining of David Attenborough, but also looking at Florence Nightingale for good health and well-being as well. So it just, everything's looking into how it's linking rather than a tenuous link. They had the children either have art or DT linked to those projects. So the DT, they love getting on board with some of the cogs for the hydro power stations and different things like that, but it's all linked into their focus of trying to achieve and help achieve that goal by the end of the half term, basically. With music, we just brought everybody together learning the same song. And I've got a little clip at this at the end, not the main one because we didn't have permission to share for all the children, but for one class. And everyone learns a different verse or a different part of the rap, so that when we came together at the end of the unit to share in the world's largest lesson what we'd done, and our teaspoons for change, we call it, a little teaspoon every day turns into a massive mountain of change. We take that from the world's largest lesson too. But when we all come back together for that final assembly, they all join in for the singing and the different parts of the rap that match their global goal. And I think the children really get a sense of there's lots to do, but if we all do our bit, we can get it. And we also found global goal 17 is sharing the word. So that was really helpful as well. And then part of that world's largest lesson is being an active change maker. So the children plan and carry out and then review a way to help meet their global goal. So for instance, in year 1, where they look at responsible production and consumption, they bring in an old t-shirt. For their art and DT, they brought in an old t-shirt and turned it into a handbag, and they might sell those to their parents at the end. We've done that one year, or they all bring in a toy to swap for the swap shop so that they're not buying new toys. The children choose that active change maker, basically, the bit they're going to do to try and help achieve their global goal. So those are the sort of things we do for how we can achieve it, and how you can see we dedicate 4 hours a week for 5 weeks of the term. So the whole term, 5 weeks, 4 hours a week, to really hitting off and really focusing on this global goal. The staff really enjoy it because they can see all the links between the curriculum, and the children really, really have great fun. And I think just feel that connected to their place in the world, and how important it is that this is the generation that's going to help stop this, basically, and they've got till 2030 to do that. So I'm going to share with you now some photos of the children taking part in their active change maker lessons, and you can see we don't have much money as a school. We haven't got big resources. It is all done on a shoestring, and also a bit of the children singing their song as well. I do have to say it's not our song, and an amazing primary school called Mutt Hill Primary School in Scotland gave us permission to learn the song as well, so they've done a great job on that. But then, just to say, from primary schools as well, this was like an added bonus for our geography leads or our eco leads in school. The way that we wrote this curriculum as well really links to the Eco Schools Green Flag Award. So with the children planning and doing and reviewing their active changemaker activity, that's helped some of our schools to get their Eco Schools Green Flag as well. So we did kind of find it was ticking off lots of different things at once. So here we are. So they all had a line in this rap that they join in on when it's their one. So that was just like one verse, but you can see the kids really enjoy singing it. It's a really catchy tune as well. And I think it's just united us, like the 17 great global goals, and we've got to work together. So they really enjoyed working with that. I hope that's given a little taste, a whistle-stop tour, and been useful for how you might be able to get that into your primary school. I've just popped my details up on the screen. If anyone wants to drop me an email for more information, I'd be really happy to catch up with you and to talk about that as well.
Thanks so much, Amelia. That is brilliant. And it's so nice to see all those pictures bring it to life at the end as well. Really brilliant. So I will quickly move on to Kinvara, and then we'll have questions for both Amelia and Kinvara at the end. So Kinvara is the director of World's Largest Lesson. So we'll hear a bit more of how they support schools. So I'll just quickly share the slides.
Hi everyone. Yes, my name's Kinvara. Thank you so much everyone for being here and for having me. I am going to talk to you a little bit about some research we did, particularly because it was last year, 2023, was the half-time moment for the SDGs. So 2015, 2030, 2023 was 7 years in. And that really led us to a moment of reflection about the work that we've been doing. And so I will talk to you a little bit about that research from a global perspective, then taking it to a UK perspective, and then I will end with sharing some practical examples of how you can take this into your classrooms, and I hope that will be helpful. At World's Largest Lesson, Amelia's actually done an incredible job of talking about what we do, but we have been going for the past 7 years to really help children and young people feel inspired and to take action for the UN SDGs. And so today I just wanted to very briefly talk you through kind of the three parts that I'm going to talk you through, some of the research that we've been doing into understanding what are the skills, capacities and mindsets young people need to take action on sustainability issues, the results of that research, and then at the end identify some organizations that we think are doing amazing work, and I will talk you through some of the resources that you can use to use in your classroom, because we thought they were great. So the reason why we started doing this big piece of work called Ready, Willing and Able, and I can share a link in the chat to the report in a moment, is, as I said, last year was the halftime moment for the goals, and that was a real moment of reflection for us as an organisation to think about the work that we're doing and how we can make it better, particularly in the light of that only 15% of the goals are on track to be achieved by 2030. But at the same time, we have this dual challenge of the SDGs being slightly off track, or not slightly, being fully off track at halftime. And also we know that young people around the world are crying out for their education to change. We did a big research report in 2022, reaching 37,000 children between the ages of 10 to 18, asking them how they would like to see their education change. And the number one thing they said from those 37,000 kids in 150 countries was they want to develop skills for the real world. So that is the background to some of this research that I'm going to talk you through, and hopefully the insights to this will be helpful and useful for you in your classrooms. So we asked ourselves three questions which kind of shaped this research that we did. What are the skills, capacities and mindsets young people need to address sustainability issues? When I say young people here, I'm talking from the ages of 0 to 30, so a very broad age range, but I'll narrow down into for what that means for primary as we get on through later on. And then understanding what are their educational and learning programs supporting young people to develop these sustainability skills and competencies. And then the third question was, how can we as an organisation help others like yourselves, teachers in schools, in classrooms, to help expedite these competency developments in young people? And the work that we were doing, the whole vision for this piece of work was to create a taxonomy, a set of skills and competencies where young people can live in a world where individuals and communities can live and work with dignity and equity within the planetary boundaries. So that's a bit of a framing of what we thought we would achieve. We were hoping the vision was for this work. So the first question, what are the skills and capacities do young people need to address sustainability issues? So what I'm going to show you on the next slide is a condensation of a year's worth of work, which is essentially we identified 17 competencies that young people need. And we spoke with researchers, scientists, teachers, young people all around the world to and review some of the literature that already exists, looking at what these competencies are, which I will show you now. So essentially, we identified 17. So what you can see on the left-hand side here are what we call the competency families. So those are what are in bold and in capital letters. So those are the 5 competency families looking at embodying, acting, applying, envisaging, and embracing in sustainability. And those are all, you can imagine them as kind of 5 intersecting, interlinking circles, of which they all cut across each other. And as you go into each of the competency families, there's an individual competency underneath it. I'm not going to take time now to go through all of them in detail because I'll share the report with you afterwards, but I will just point out some specific ones as we go through, because I think some of the insights from that will hopefully be of interest to you. So after we identify that these are the 17 competencies young people might need to feel ready, willing and able to take action on sustainability issues, we went out and said, okay, so if we are saying these are what the competencies young people need, what are learning programs around the world doing to help support them to learn these? And we mapped 154 learning programs around the world. The UK, we had 6 specific country focuses. The UK wasn't one of those, but the 40 international organisations that we also included in this research do work and operate in the UK. So I hope that the findings that I'm about to show you and talk about will still be of relevance. And I've got a specific UK example as well. So essentially, what we did was we took these 154 learning programs from around the world and we mapped them against those 17 competencies that I just spoke about. And the results was very, very interesting for us. So in front of you, you'll see what we call our sustainability competencies heat map, which is a bit of a mouthful, but essentially it's the condensation of what those 154 learning programs from around the world say they are helping to develop in young people. Now, crucially here, we weren't evaluating the impact of those learning programs. We were just evaluating what they said they were helping young people to learn to do. So if we start going clockwise on this circle, you can see we've got on the outside the name of the competency family, so embodying, acting, embracing, envisaging, and applying. And the dark green areas are the areas of which the vast majority of programs said they were doing. And as you move round to getting to the orange and the red areas, that means the vast majority of programs weren't developing those competencies. They said they weren't developing those competencies from what we could see available from their websites and the learning resources they had. Now, what was very interesting to us on this is that there were some clear areas where pretty much every single program was helping young people to learn about, and there were some clear areas where pretty much every learning program said they weren't helping to help people understand, young people understand about. So if we start from clockwise and we go around, you can start to see the green and the embodying sustainability values. So a lot of the organizations of the 154 that we looked at were helping young people to value sustainability, supporting fairness and justice, and a connection to nature. And the number one thing that these programs were saying was to help young people see sustainability issues as an individual action. So helping them to understand how they as individuals can help take action for sustainability issues. And as you move around, some of the areas that started to identify as gaps were political action, helping young people to understand how they can hold power to account when it comes to sustainability issues, but also harnessing data, looking at how data can be used to interpret data, measure the impact of projects that you're doing, but also helping to think in systems as well. And so this is from a global perspective, but I'm now going to showcase a very brief report which was done in England, which is an amazing piece of research. And then I will show you 2 examples of organizations that I think have got great resources that you could use in your classrooms that will help that refer to these competencies. So the SEED Youth Listening Survey is an amazing piece of research that I only just came across. It's done by the University of Exeter and the SEED organisation, and they have done a project where they are listening to young people on their views and feelings towards sustainability and climate change. What's really interesting and unique about this piece of research is that it's done over multiple years. So they're building up a bank of data of what young people are saying. Most of the responses they've got are from 12 to 15-year-olds, which I know is slightly older than the age group that you're working with. But again, their findings really emphasize what we found in our report, is that the majority of young people see sustainability action as an individual consumer action that is based around local waste initiatives. Now, that is interesting because what we're seeing and understanding from this, and so much more measurement and impact research needs to be done on this new field of sustainability work, is that a lot of young people are seeing it as an issue that they themselves have to tackle as individuals. Now, whilst individual action is important, there is a big space to help young people to understand how they can how it can be framed not only as an individual action but working in a community action and as a collective. And the findings from this report looking at UK students was that what they lack is knowledge about how to act in their personal lives to work towards those changes in broader society. And we know that that's something young people want to do. So what I'm going to do now is show you 2 examples of 2 organizations that we identified in the research that we did that we thought were doing excellent work on specific competency areas. And I will talk you through them very briefly and then show you their websites just from a very practical perspective, because you can filter to your curriculum and the ages that you're working with. So one is climate science. They have online short science-based educational resources, which are all looking at how to help young people develop the competency of applying sustainability sciences. Their Instagram is amazing. It's regularly updated. It's got really beautiful infographics, and it's a great way to maybe start a starter in a lesson, or to set it as a piece of homework, or if you're just looking for inspiration for something to talk about and follow in your class. Their Instagram is amazing, and I'll show you their website in a moment. And then the other organization that we identified as an organization based in the US, but it's called Compass Education. And what they do, which is very unique, is that they really help educators, teachers and students understand how to approach sustainability issues through a systems thinking lens. So helping young people to understand how all of the issues within sustainability are interlinked and interconnected, and moving away from looking at one issue one issue in a silo and thinking about, okay, actually the way the world works now is everything's very, very interconnected, and helping young people to understand that. So they're another organization that have got some free training resources, and just think that the work that they are doing is great. And so what I just wanted to very briefly do now is practically show you the climate science website, because they have, you can still see this, hopefully. Yes, I'm seeing some nodding, great. So on their schools section of their website, you can go down to saying what national curriculum you are and what age you're trying to teach and the subjects, and it will filter everything for you, and then it will come up with some resources which are just really great and easy to do in the classroom. So I just wanted to end by showing some practical examples of things that you can take through. So to summarize, we've been on a big learning journey as World's Largest Lesson, because we started as creating lesson resources that taught young people and children about the SDGs, and now we are moving away from that to teaching for the SDGs. So what are the skills and competencies we need to be building in young people so that they feel empowered and really critically hopeful and optimistic for the future? And it's been a big learning journey. It's been a big learning journey for us, and we are at the very early stages of it. And so I hope that some of the research that we've done will be helpful to you and useful, and that some of the climate science resources and the sustainability compass resources as well might be helpful, because they are tapping into some of those undeveloped competencies that we have identified from our research. So thank you, everyone.
Kinvara, that was brilliant. Yeah, thank you so much. And that is really, really interesting, actually. I would love to read your report. Yeah, just about how everyone's just only doing the teaching and not actually how you apply that to your life and empower students to act. No, really great. Thank you so much, Kinvara and Amelia. It's so nice to see yeah, how you are applying this into your curriculums and really empowering your students. I think there are some questions in the chat, and anyone who hasn't yet asked a question, please do type it into the chat box. I'm going to hand over to Alison, who is our lovely question master for today.
Thank you. We've just had a question come in asking for the presentation to be displayed again, but will these presentations be sent round after the webinar? Yeah. Okay, so everyone will get the presentations sent round. So there's one question in the chat for Kinvara. How did you choose the countries you focused on for your research?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we had 6 countries that we looked at in detail: the US, the UAE, South Africa, Spain, Brazil, there were more, India, sorry. And the reason we chose those, the reason we chose those countries is because of, there's a broad range of reasons, but from the how large their youth population is, where they are in their sustainability journeys in their national curriculums, and also because some of those countries have some of the world's largest natural resources. So understanding what learning programs in those countries are helping young people to learn about and know about.
Great, thank you. And another question, this is to both of you, so maybe Kinvara first. Have either of you had any experience teaching about environmental and/or climate justice?
I have had some experience. Yes, I've had experience of teaching it in the UK and then also in other countries like Nepal and Italy. And I would say that where you are is very dependent. The context is everything in a topic like this. But I'd say my biggest learning from it was just asking very, very open questions to young people on it, and then applying a systems thinking approach to it to help people, particularly in the global north or more developed countries, how where we are and where we've come from has then impacted people from other countries. So that's where I'd say the Compass Education Sustainability Compass that I mentioned earlier was really, really helpful for that.
Great. That was my next question. Do you have any recommendations for resources? So thank you. Amelia, the same question to you. Have you had experience about teaching climate justice?
Well, we sort of try and touch on it in year 5 and 6 when we look at renewable and non-renewable energy and natural resources. So we look at it from a natural resources point of view and the related GDP wealth of the country from that, and how some of it doesn't marry up with actually what we perceive of those countries. So we're starting to come into it in upper key stage 2. But I think, like Kinvara said, how sustainable education is moving on to empower children to combat it. We're probably still at the point of teaching children what it is, but we are, after 2 years in some schools, 3 years in others, starting to see the ability to go more in depth with it each year as we come back to it.
Perfect, thank you. And someone has asked, do you know of any resources specific for SEN pupils? Who wants to come in on that?
So our main driver at Oasis is that every pupil who attends here gets equity of provision, but we look at how we present that to them so they can access to it. So we are lucky that all the children have iPads and different resources. So we teach them the same thing about sustainability, but they're able to use voice notes or have it read to them, or different differentiation tools for that. So in our schools, they access the same, but we're differentiating through electronic devices and different things like that to help them understand more.
Great. Thank you. And I think we're nearly out of time. So last question. Someone has asked, do you think that climate change can also be taught as a discrete subject in the primary curriculum?
I think absolutely yes. So, but then we sort of do that, but we link it through to the geography and how land has changed over time. So we're looking at climate change of different areas and how the land has changed due to various factors to do with climate change. But it does come up a lot through the national curriculum in geography naturally itself. But our year 6 cohort who do look at climate change are able to hit off quite a lot of the national curriculum objectives in geography through looking at that. And it can link in with the maths as well, working out various different differences.
Amazing. So Suzanne, are we out of time?
Yeah, but I feel like Kinvara will come in.
Sorry. Just one linking back to the climate justice question, and linking back to kind of systems thinking and everything that we've been talking about today. One question I find very powerful when talking to young people about anything to do with this topic, no matter how old they are, is who benefits from thinking this, or who benefits from you doing this, or who makes money from you thinking like this, or from you putting this, or from you buying this. And that question then opens up a whole perspective of young people being like, oh, it means this. And then someone be like, oh, but that also means this. And it then leads from there. So, I mean, I would say you could even just have that question just as a lesson and see where the kids take it from there. Yeah, so I hope that's helpful.
Brilliant, and I think that's a lovely way to end, really, on a really lovely tip of introducing that as a conversation into your classes and lessons. So we are out of time, I'm afraid, but I will be sending around the presentations of our amazing speakers and the recording in hopefully tomorrow, if not Monday morning. But I just want to say a big thank you to Amelia and Kinvara for presenting. It was really, really great to hear your insights and, yeah, share your learnings with us. So big, big thank you.